Welcome to the Will Luckett Podcast. This Seattle-based show is a space for authentic storytelling, deep conversations, and unexpected discoveries, exploring faith, life, and the human journey. Whether reflecting on personal experiences or unpacking cultural moments, this podcast invites listeners into meaningful and thought-provoking dialogue, connecting deeply with the diverse voices and perspectives right here in Seattle, Washington. Back at it again, y'all. It is the Will Luckett Podcast. Amazing episode ahead. And today we're talking about believing in yourself. We're talking about confidence. And we're talking about trusting your instincts. What comes to mind for me when I hear confidence is actually a more intrinsic version that you may be thinking of. Because a lot of the times when people say confidence, they want to hear it loud. They want to hear it pronounced. They want it super visceral. But first and foremost, let's talk about believing in yourself. Right? When people say believe in yourself, it sounds simple. But for me, it goes deeper than just confidence. It's about trusting. I feel like believing in yourself is more than just about being confident. Believing in yourself is about knowing the overarching vision for your life, right? A lot of times people get caught up on their circumstances, on their present, but believing in yourself is really having a big picture perspective in my mind, right? I feel like in a lot of ways, it's about trusting that God has a plan, that the desires in your heart are there for a reason, and that your instincts and work ethic will carry you through even when circumstances don't look perfect. And one of the things that on a very personal level, I feel like applies to this is who you're letting in proximity to your ears and in turn your heart, right? And I'm going to say this throughout this episode, but nobody knows you better than you, right? So a lot of times you'll be in conversations with people, friends, family, those close to you, maybe even some random people, strangers, or people you don't know that well. And you'll say something to them and you'll get a response that's not necessarily what you wanted to hear. And a lot of times in life, we are going to hear things from people, words that we weren't expecting, responses that aren't truly in line with our core beliefs. And when you hear something like that, it could shake you. It could shake your spirit. It could shake your core. And basically, that's why you have to manage who you're letting in your ear. Who are you talking to? Who are you conversing with? Right? We have to be very careful about guarding our hearts. So again, it's about proximity. It's about realizing how to manage situations. Everyone's different, but at times, certain people or instances or going about life, sometimes things seem a bit robotic. When you talk to people, when you talk to individuals, and it just seems like you're getting the same responses over and over. The same stories are coming up over and over and over and over again. And you're being affected by those words that carry spiritual weight, spiritual power, right? And it's my personal belief that words are the most powerful thing in the universe. Communication. And it's up to us as people who believe in themselves to not only use their own words, but to manage their proximity to words of all shapes, all forms. Whether you're watching YouTube, whether you're reading a book, whether you're listening to a family member, right? Ultimately, right, as people who believe in God, I want you to know this. God loves you. And in tune, walk out your life's journey with that confidence, with that reassurance, right? That things are going to work out. Not by mistake, not by random. Although sometimes random blessings will come about. Random blessings will rain down. But what I'm thinking is living by that confidence, living by that overarching belief that there has been a path prepared for you. Let's dive in to a little bit more in depth about believing in yourself. My main point here, believing in yourself isn't just surface level confidence. It's trusting that God has a plan and that the desires and purpose in your heart can come to life, right? True belief is rooted in faith, work, ethic, and instincts, not in temporary circumstances. Right, so let's talk about how believing in yourself means refusing to let negative circumstances define your future. So I think what we need to rest in here is that our circumstances are working for us, not against us. And I feel like in a lot of ways, we are either being protected or prepared by our circumstances. So I think keeping that mindset of gratitude, keeping the mindset of constant progress, right? One of the things that really strikes me personally about this topic is just knowing for a fact that I am maturing, I am growing, I am trending in the right direction. And I think overarchingly, for those trusting their instincts, for those working hard, working multiple jobs, hustling, pursuing their passions, I think it's really important for us to remember that we are going to get to our goal, no matter how many setbacks, no matter how long it takes. It's not about your age. It's not about, I think, materialism. It's about being patient, working on your spirit, working on tangible skills to improve, working on your mind, becoming a better person because you have attracted and pursued the right kinds of knowledge. And I also think it's important to see challenges as temporary and not permanent. And again, this goes back to the whole thing on words. Words come in so many different forms. You can speak words, you can hear words, you can think words, you can see words and then interpret that visually. So it's really important to think the right thoughts, right? Not seeing challenges as right as permanent. So in those moments, it's really hard to break free from the current mindset, break free from the potential negative momentary outlook. But I really think that it's important in believing in yourself. And again, my overarching point here is that believing in yourself isn't just about some internal confidence. Believing in yourself is about a long-term vision and an overall motto or, modus operandi, right? The way you wake up and do it every single day. The words you're saying, the meditations you're repeating, the affirmations that you go to each and every single day, right? The words that you fill your life with. Recently, I heard someone said that your words are a reflection of your heart. So the way you speak, how you speak, what you say, how you say it, are big indicators of not only the direction you're going, but the status of your belief in the confidence of your life's path. Right? And, let's talk a little bit about purpose and desire alignment, right? There's a connection between your inner desires and God's purpose for your life. And that's why believing in yourself is really about believing in the alignment. And I think that's a great point because that overarching vision is a belief that, and this is a figure of speech, that the stars will align. Well, what are those stars? Those stars are your relationships, your spirit, your body, and, Yeah, your spirit, soul, body, and relationships. Those are the things that are going to align in your life through that self-confidence, through believing and trusting, developing a relationship with God, prayer, things like that. And even if you don't have strong faith or faith at all, it's still important to believe in yourself. It's still important to take on these different practices and apply them to your life, right? Without a plan, without preparation, right? And you need a plan for your spirit. You need a plan for your mind. You need a plan to holster and mold the way you think. And part of that is believing in yourself. And I think this next thing goes without saying, right? Work ethic is key here. And I feel like most of the time with most people, we all work hard enough. The thing is, we need more structure in our lives, and more structure, and with that comes discipline. So, right, consistency and discipline are evidence in some ways that you believe in yourself. So I think that goes without saying. And it's just this incredible thing, right? How our instincts guide us. And I think we can strengthen our instincts through reflection, prayer, and experience. And I don't know, I just feel like there are certain people that are connected to life in a way that every day there's a blessing. Every day there's divine guidance. Every day there may be struggle, there may be hardship, there may be emotions that don't feel right. There may be times where it's just too much. The kitchen's too hot. There's too many chiefs, not enough Indians, whatever it may be. And personally in my life, I go through that. I go through times where it just feels like too much. It feels like there's a lot of pressure. I'm stressing for some reason. I'm meditating, and I'm in this place spiritually, that mentally, that is uncomfortable. But overall, no matter how I'm feeling, I will always, and this is a pro tip from Will Luckett, yours truly, I will always confess positivity. I will always confess vision. I will always confess progress over my life. And I put stock in my words, and that's how I go about it. On the worst of days, I'm still confessing affirmations that let my own mind know the vision I have for my life. Right. So believing in yourself isn't just a motivational quote, right? It includes faith. It includes discipline. And it's trust rolled into one, right? I know your story isn't finished, and, choose to stand on that. None of our stories are finished, right? So we got to keep going. We got to keep fighting. Got to keep trucking along, right? So another piece of believing in yourself, we got to talk about confidence. To me, belief and confidence go hand in hand, but confidence doesn't always look what people think. It doesn't look like people think. It's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about something quieter. And that thing is way more powerful than an arrogance, than a distraction, really, in a lot of ways. Right? We hear the word confidence. Most of us picture someone bold, loud, maybe even over the top. But real confidence in some ways could be quiet, right? It's knowing the work you've done, knowing you're prepared, and walking into opportunities ready to meet the moment. But I touched on this a little bit in the last segment. Confidence is something you carry with you everywhere you go. And especially those of us who believe in God, right? Everywhere we go, we know that that's where we're supposed to be. We're guided by a confidence that every connection, every person, every detail has been orchestrated by God. And it's just diving into this deep. It's just, you go into every situation, regardless of whether you know people in the room or you don't know people in the room. You can approach others with confidence, knowing within yourself that this is part of your journey. It's part of your story. And it's interesting because it's something we forget about a lot. We walk into rooms, we walk into negotiations, we walk into circumstances, scenarios, and situations, and we kind of go in autopilot mode. Whereas I think in basic day-to-day conversations, we should have something in the back of our mind telling us to be confident, telling us to show up with a little bit of oomph, to show up with a mindset that we're about to be blessed, right? That you will be blessed going in, blessed coming out. And even for those for people who may not have super strong faith, who may not have confidence in God, I still think that, it's important to really sit in the fact that you can be confident. You can be smart about things, right? Right? Confidence isn't just about being loud, flashy, or the first to speak. Real confidence, in some ways, is quiet. It's the deep knowing that you've put in the work. You're prepared, and you're ready. Confidence flows from preparation, discipline, and showing yourself approved. And to speak on that quiet confidence piece, why not be quiet? Because you walk into a room and you're quiet, and then it's your turn to speak and you wow people, it catches them by surprise, and that's a leg up. When you can be surprisingly confident, I think that's really cool. You come out, you do your thing. Not that you're an underdog, but it's just really cool when you know how to carry yourself. And back to my point on letting people in, right, through the avenue of your ear. It's just one of those things where you might want to start saying less. And a lot of times you're not going to hear what you want to hear. But I feel like some things should just be kept between you and your journal, or you and God. And that's just the harsh reality. Very, very, very few people are going to be ready to engage with the pureness and the rawness of the energy that comes out of your heart. So you may be feeling some type of way. You may be talking to friends, family, whoever. A lot of the times we just need to process things internally, or go to a source that will listen to us with a neutral ear, right? A behavioral health specialist, a therapist, someone like that. That's my sincere advice in that kind of a situation, right? Confidence doesn't have to announce itself. It doesn't have to. It's one of those things where you're poised, you're ready, your body language and genuine preparation for something will speak for itself. And that's kind of back to my point on the daily goings and comings of life, your daily errands, your daily routine, going to work, raising kids, whatever it is, but really more actually out in the world, right? You can have confidence even in the unknown, right? And that's really something that I think I want to harp on a little bit more here is that you should be connected with yourself in a way where you have this energy, you have this persona, you have this inkling at all times that whatever decision you have made, right? And we're talking about people in their right mind, right? I'm not condoning violence. I'm not telling people to go out and start fights or anything. But what I am saying is that everywhere you go, banking on the fact that you are righteous, you have complete freedom. You can do no wrong. Like when your priorities are right? When you have godly priorities, it's even more permission to have fun. Go out, have fun, take care of your responsibilities. Right? We're not talking about arrogance. We're talking about confidence. Confidence is grounded in truth and not ego. Right? So confidence doesn't have to shout. Confidence can whisper. Whisper. It's in your posture, your preparation, and your peace. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. And so I think I'm getting to this part in the show right now, which is what I was really looking forward to talking about. Right? Nobody knows you better than you. Right? Here's the thing. Confidence also has a personal side, because at the end of the day, nobody knows you better than you. And that changes the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, and sometimes even when you choose to stay quiet. I've learned in my own life that nobody knows me better than me. People can try to understand your story, your emotions, even the things you share publicly, but they can never fully feel what you feel. And that realization changes how you communicate and what you keep close. And really, this ties into all three things: trusting your instincts, confidence, and right, everything you try to articulate, everything you try to speak on to another person, they can only attempt to understand. And this is the point where the things that you know, sometimes saying them is just going to end up in some round robin conversation that's really not going to help you at all. And it's up to you to leave those irritating moments where nothing gets done, and to go back and repeat those moments over and over and over again, where you're trying to express yourself, but yet you know people don't really get it. You're better off writing a journal entry and reaching out to God through prayer. You know, nobody knows you better than you. And because of that, you don't always need to share everything, right? Some things are meant to be processed quietly with yourself, your journal, or with God. Right? People may try to understand your situation, but they can't feel what you feel. And I find myself in situations a lot of the time, and some things you just have to internalize. Some things you can either write down or you can just process. Right? But nobody knows you better than you. People will try to tell you things. People will try to understand. People will try to listen to respond instead of listen to understand. And it's just, a challenge processing your emotions the right way, or processing your emotions anyway, right? Any kind of strategy to process your emotions, your thoughts, and your feelings. So a lot of times God is the only person you can go to. And the great thing about God always listens. But yeah, I think to wrap things up, I would just say that being confident, trusting your instincts and believing in yourself are keys to success, are keys to initiating any endeavor. And for the most part, when we have that quiet confidence, not to make that some sort of token or reward, right? Because it's different for all of us. But I just really am adamant about the fact that confidence is key. So I'll leave it at that. Wanted to get y'all a quick Seahawks update because I have been following the team throughout the season so far. This past weekend, the Seahawks took the victory from the New Orleans Saints. They won the game 44-13. Lots of positives here. It's the best Sam Darnold has looked. Our defense is still really impressive. We totally dominated the game. The Saints were not a worthy opponent at all. It was great to see from the Seahawks. We're going to keep building upon this. Obviously, this Thursday, we have a Thursday night football game against the Cardinals. Looking forward to that one. But yeah, the Seahawks are looking impressive. There's definitely some impact players on our team. And that game against the Saints, right, we were dealing with injuries to multiple players. So the Seahawks need a real test. And like I've been saying this whole time, we're going to get the 4-week sample. Either we're going to be 3-1 or we're going to be 2-2. And that'll tell us a lot. If the Seahawks come out of this 3-1 through the 4-week sample size, I'll definitely be really impressed with the team. It's a long season, and we're just at the beginning. So I think the Seahawks team can be successful. It's going to take discipline. It's going to take attention to detail and a focus. But yeah, the Seahawks were flying around the field. There was so much energy. We actually had a kick return for the first time in like 10 years. And the Seahawks got a lot of energy. It's a great group of guys. And you can tell they really want to win. And you can also tell that they have a very unique culture. It's clearly a brotherhood. It's clearly a tribe. And that's just cool to see. Great when Seattle sports are on the up and up. Well, all right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I'll be back with more content. My final word to you all, be confident, trust your instincts, and get to know yourself better, because nobody knows you better than you. Thanks for listening to the Will Luckett podcast. Stay tuned for more conversations coming your way. If this episode connected with you, make sure to like, share, and repost so more people can tap in. Catch you on the next one.